Hey, welcome. Okay, so my name is Phoenicia Jackson, your personal overcoming encourager. Um, so the topic today is people are crazy. At least people can be crazy. Some I mean, sometimes it's just like you just leave you scratching your head. Like it's just like why? Like I know certain things. I'll and I just start itching. Like why are we doing this? Why? Just why? Some stuff, no matter how hard you think about it, it just don't make no sense. If people was in their right mind, you like, they couldn't have been in their right mind when they did that. Like, we not seeing the whole video, those viral videos or whatever. We not seeing, like, it's got to be something. Like, I'm itching right now thinking about it. I'm like, there's got to be something else to the story for this had to be how we got. Like, I need to know how we got here. How did we get to this place? Um, just how did we get to this place? And sometimes it can be super simple. Like we talk, and it just seems like it's just not fair. It's just not it's just not fair. No matter how good you do or what people see you, they always pick, the one that ain't doing right, or the one that wasn't patient, or the one that just wasn't. So I have a few biblical examples of that very thing. So on the screen you have two of them. The first one, I'm gonna start with the small box. It says, and this is from Mark chapter 2, verse 23 and 24. It says, "Now it happened that he," talking about Jesus, is capital H, "went through the grain fields on the Sabbath. And as they went, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain to eat." If you don't know what that is, they was plucking to eat it. And it says, and the Pharisees said to him, "Look, why do you do what is not lawful on the Sabbath?" And okay, so in your mind, you're like, why did we pick this as an example of why? Because I'm itching, you see. Um, let's go. I highlighted the section. It says the grain fields on the Sabbath. So the grain fields, you actually have to go outside of your abode and just think fields of grain, just fields on fields of grain, right? Jesus' disciples went out there on the Sabbath. Now, the Sabbath is special because there are different laws, Hebraic laws around the Sabbath. You know, how far you can walk, what all you can do. You're not supposed to do nothing that's considered work on the Sabbath, because you're supposed to rest on the Sabbath, keep it holy, right? So here's my issue with this one. Here's the damage. They was in grain fields on the Sabbath, and then verse 24 it says, "And the Pharisees." Who alerted you that we was outside? You had to follow me and my people on the Sabbath in order to see us doing anything on the Sabbath for you to accuse me of. So I just like these people went all out their way. Like, aren't you supposed to be with your family on the Sabbath? Aren't you supposed to be, I don't know, being holy on the Sabbath? You out here snitching on people and following them around because ain't no social media. He didn't take no pictures. Nobody called him to tell him, and he just went out there, or they went out there. No, you lurking, waiting for us to catch us in some mess. Okay. So the rest of the verse is about Jesus dispelling this situation. He diffused the situation as like basically, I am the Lord of the Sabbath. Next, like don't just bye. Basically, dismiss them. And they was mad because he was right. They was mad. So moving on to the next example of just why people are just crazy. Not only are they lurking for Jesus, they lurking for other folks as well. So it says, and this is John chapter 8, verses 1 through 4. It says, but Jesus went to the Mount of Olives now early in the morning. And the translation in the footnote says very early. So very super early in the morning, right? He came again into the temple, and all the people came to him and sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought him a woman caught in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, They said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act." Again, ain't no social media, ain't no and pardon my English. I know how to talk. I just it's, I feel like this is the best way to express it, honestly. Um there was no phone calls, no text messages, no hey, meet up over here. She in the act. And it's early in the morning. Why was you sneaking around these other folks' situation? Early in the morning. How you even know what's happening? See everybody else was in the temple being taught of him. The scribes and the Pharisees out there in the streets, listening at folks' doors and stuff. And then put your hands on the woman, brought her out there in the midst. And this is the crazy part. They in the temple, right? Jesus is giving something to a kid of Sunday school lesson because he teaching them early in the morning in the temple. They dragged this woman. I don't know if she half naked. In my mind, she holding on to a towel. I don't know. It's in my mind. Bring this woman. She couldn't be fully dressed. Can't be fully dressed into the temple, talking about some she was caught in the in the very act of adultery. Didn't you have to pull her off somebody or pull her out from under somebody? It's just I just know folks is just crazy. Folks are, and then and I didn't put the rest of it here, but obviously Jesus handled the situation too. If you're familiar with the story, with the testimony, Jesus sit there a little bit longer and he writes some things in the sand. We don't know what he wrote. Apparently that's not that important. But he's sitting there and he start writing stuff. And then he says something to the effect of ye that are without sin, cast the first stone. Yes, I said it in King James Version. Ye who is without sin, cast the first. So they're trying to stone the woman. That was the penalty for adultery. They wanted to you supposed to, but technically you're supposed to stone both of them because you can't commit adultery by yourself. But folks is crazy. See, folks is crazy. So needless to say, people start dropping their rocks because everybody was guilty of sinning at some point. Everybody. And then he told the woman, basically, go and sin no more. Like, do better. Don't do this no more. And the woman left. And I want to say, and I should have put this up here, and then he go back to teaching. Because he is legitimately in the middle of a Sunday school lesson. Because folks is crazy. Because folks is crazy. Folks is crazy. Um, here's the last one. Here's the last one. This one is about Jesus also, obviously. But this is about him personally. At this point, this is from Luke chapter 23, verses 18 through 25. Jesus is at the end of his 3.5 year mission, his 3.5 year um, ministry, right? So he's now in the hands of Pilate. If you don't know Pilate, he's the Roman governor, and he's pretty much in charge of punishing Jesus, right? If you don't know how to get punished, you need to read the first part of Luke. But we at the part where he's getting punished now, and he on his way to the cross. Yes. So Pilate has a wife, and the wife had a dream or something, and told Pilate, "Hey, you don't even have nothing to do with this Jesus. If this Jesus come up, because she don't know what's happening, she just woke up and told her husband, hey, if this Jesus come through, you don't want no part of this. This a mess. This a mess, basically." And he's like, "Okay, whatever." And Jesus come through, and he tries to get Jesus off the hook because he can't find nothing he did wrong. I mean, he's not a Jew. He's a Roman. He's a Roman governor, and he used to doing whatever the law and Caesar tell him to do, right? Because he's the governor. That's his job. So he can't find nothing he guilty of to kill him like that because the Jews want to kill him. They want to crucify him, but the Jews can't crucify him for several reasons. But they can't crucify him. So they want the Roman government to do it. And Pilate, who represents the government, is like, Okay, let me see. And him as a government official does what government officials do. He tried to find a loophole, right? He was like, okay, wife told me not to do nothing about it because she had a little drink or whatever, uh, and I can't find nothing wrong with him because I'd be punishing an innocent person. Um, he's also, how about this? How about this? They had this tradition, right, where around this time of the year, because it's around Passover and stuff, and it was like, so normally he released a a prisoner. So whoever they choose, he releases that prisoner out of benevolence, showing mercy, make the government look good. So he's like, I got it. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. So he does that. He says that, hey, you know, he put Jesus up there, and he pulled like the worst criminal he could find, basically up there. He finds a dude called Barabbas. And this particular Barabbas was not just a bad dude. He had started a rebellion in the city. Somebody, at least one somebody, had died during the rebellion. So technically, he was a murderer. Um, Other translations kind of interpret that as he was a robber. He was an insurrectionist. I've seen that in a number of footnotes. He was an insurrectionist, and he killed some people. And he was a violent person, based on the different interpretations of scripture. So he was not the type of person you want to be released back into your community, especially without any type of restraint. He ain't had no guards. We just out here, right? He's not the type of person you want just released back. We'll say that. And then right next to him, you got Jesus, who ain't done nothing but preach what he think is the word of God. And when I say what he think, because you know he's Pilate is just a Roman dude. He's just a Roman dude. He doing his job. He making his bread. He taking care of his family. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying he a good dude, but I am saying he was doing his job. So he was like, okay, so I'm gonna put him up because surely, I put up two dudes up here. One deserved to die, like legit deserved to die. And this other one, you know, what could go wrong, right? What could go wrong? So Luke 18, no, 23 verse 18 says, and they all cry out at once, talking about the audience, because he don't put Jesus out there and stuff. He says, away with this man, talking about Jesus. This the people, the crowd. Away with this man, and release to us Barabbas, who had been thrown into prison for a certain rebellion made in the city and for murder. Pilate, therefore, wishing to release Jesus, again called out to them, but they shouted, saying, crucify him, crucify him. And then he said to them the third time, why? What evil has he done? I have found no reason for death in him. I will therefore chastise him and let him go. So what that means is like he was gonna beat him up a little bit, punish him and send him on about his way. These folks is ignorant. So, because they cry. Verse 23 says, but they were insistent, demanding with loud voices that he be crucified. And the voices of these men, and the voices of these men and of the chief priests prevailed. So Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they requested. And he released to them the one they requested, who for rebellion and murder had been thrown into prison. But he delivered Jesus to their will. So that brings us to this scripture. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Done all to stand. That bears repeating. Um, we don't wrestle against. That's why these folks is crazy. It ain't even them. It ain't even them. We're not fighting these people. These people that it don't make sense because it ain't even them. Because what do they have to gain or lose? Really? Who bewitched them? Principalities, powers. rulers of darkness, spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places. I've seen an image. I didn't put it in the slide, but I've seen images of those marionettes. I think I'm saying it right, but they're like puppets, right? But instead of putting your hand in the puppet, making it talk like this, you have the doll on the strings, right? And you pull on the strings, and it makes the puppet dance around and talk. But these principalities, you can't see the strings, right? You can't see the strings, and sometimes it's really hard to discern between what's them, the person, and what's going on. Because some people, I just I feel like if some people could just step back out of themselves and see, like, do you see what you're doing? Do you hear what you're saying? Do you understand how crazy it is that you are doing and believing this? Because in a right mind or in a right state, it's almost like they wouldn't even. It's not even wouldn't even be an issue. Can you imagine Pharisees sneaking around? These are and you might not have frame of reference, but these are like the high ranking people in society at the time. I was about to say in the church, wasn't no church at this point, but in the religion at this time. They walk around in special robes. Everybody see them. Can you imagine them sneaking around the field on the Sabbath, trying to catch Jesus people doing something? And all they could catch him doing was eating. So you are doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath. Boy, boo. Boy, boo. Like, I would think, I used to read the Bible, and I used to get mad for real. I was like, man, if I was that, I would just snatch their oxygen right then. I would have just, but it wouldn't done no good because you'd just be taking the doll away. You're not taking away the principality or the power, the rulers of the darkness and host of wickedness. You ain't doing nothing about them. But for me, I'm just getting mad at that person, argue with that person. It ain't even that person. So that's why we're supposed to pray for our enemies, pray for those that misuse us, and because they just puppets. And sometimes we allow ourselves to be used as puppets too. We get mad and we go in, or we try to execute revenge or vengeance, and we do stuff, petty stuff sometimes. Just be petty. Don't let the devil use you. That's what he should be doing. But we have to be mindful. We can't be like the quote unquote crazy people, right? At least not all the time. God is not giving us the spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. In other places, it's not translated as sound mind. It's translated as self-control. And sometimes I got to remember that. And I know it's not just me, right? So here's to not being a crazy person today. I love you. Be blessed.